cheeks are nice and rosy and comfy, cozy we. We're snuggled up together like two birds of a feather will be. Let's take the road before us and sing a chorus or two. Come on, it's lovely weather for a sleigh ride together with you.
Hi there, David Johnston here, David J247 on the Christmas lighting forums, and Nary Lights on Facebook and YouTube. I wanted to make a video here, a walkthrough of our first year's sequenced Christmas display. So a bit of background, we here in Nary Warren have been doing a Christmas display for well over a decade. But up until this year, always static lights, so store-bought lights, inflatables, so on and so forth. Late last year, we decided we would try and step it up. You know, it was getting a bit stale, a bit boring. We'd always wanted to try sequencing to music. One thing led to another, and I got hooked on sequencing and pixels, and needless to say, we've learnt a lot in the 12 months since probably December of last year when we really started to take this on. One thing that helped me a lot when I learned a lot from when we first began was walkthrough videos, so how-to videos, behind the scenes, that sort of thing. Just getting to see some of the hardware that goes into this hobby of ours and how it all comes together and how it's put together, and some of the nitty-gritty of it all. So I thought probably a good time to do a bit of a walkthrough of our display. This year being our first year, we've been working on this probably 12 months. By no means one of the bigger displays around, but probably a good time to see, I guess, just what can be achieved in a year, starting from scratch essentially. Although we have some existing lights that we've modified, but certainly in terms of sequencing and controllers, networking, pixels, it was all new to us. So I look on the forums in the last month or two, it's now December of 2016, and there's a bunch of new people just starting out, and I look and think this is just where we were 12 months ago, and I really got a lot out of a few locals in the area showing me through a bit of what they'd done, and as I mentioned, some of the walkthrough videos that others in the community have put online and made available. Found it really useful. So hopefully somebody can get something out of this. I guess we'll just walk through element by element, controllers, that type of thing, and just sort of show you what we've done this year, what we've learned along the way. I won't focus too much on software. You can probably see behind me we use X lights. That's been a real learning curve in itself. Amazing software. You can do just about anything if you're creative enough, and there's countless videos online and tutorials and things on how to use that. So what I'll try and focus on here is just what we put together in terms of the hardware, the controllers, the lights, how things come together, and hopefully it's useful. So watch on and enjoy.
Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started.
Most of the control equipment for the show is housed in this one central control box. So in here we have a lot of the major equipment, starting with the network connection that comes in from the house network. You'll notice I've got the cables here colour coded just for ease of identification out in the yard. So blue comes in for network. You'll see behind the power board here there's a small network switch which takes the home network in and outputs to the Pixel controller and also to the Raspberry Pi. So the Raspberry Pi is essentially the show computer. This is the show player. All of the sequenced programs are stored on this USB key. and the Raspberry Pi or Falcon Pi player operates as a show player, runs all the sequences, the scheduler, and controls the show each night. Also attached on the network there is the Falcon F16 V2R. This is the only pixel controller I have in the show. As you'll see, there's 16 outputs here. One of the great things about the Falcon controller is there is also an expansion board available, which gives a further 16 outputs in the form of differential outputs. So you'll see these running here to the green Ethernet cables, Cat5 cables. What that allows is for another 16 outputs to be located elsewhere in the yard. So that solved a big problem for us in designing this system, this being our first year. Whether we go for a central control system like this, where everything is sort of enclosed in one central location in the show, there can be challenges there running long distances out to different elements. The expansion board here allows us then to take essentially half of these connections, or another 16 on top of these connections I should say, and run those out to small receiver boards anywhere in the yard, which is ideal. So I'll also show those smaller controller boxes that we've got spread through the yard. What this also gives us is DMX outputs. So you'll see here in red, the red Cat5 are for DMX. So for example, the DC controllers here, which control some of the older existing elements I've had in my static show, are controlled via DMX. Also located in the main control box is a USB and switched power board. This is quite useful in that I can isolate some of the power supplies here. For example, we'll turn on the DC supplies and the pixel supplies, and you'll notice that the pixel controller will light up. Interestingly, at the beginning of the season, I learnt a valuable lesson. During testing, was switching the power on and off to this box completely, and corrupted the software or the operating system on the Raspberry Pi. So a very quick change just before the show began. This entire box now runs constant power. I simply switch off the elements that I don't want running through the night. So for example, again, the pixels and the DC side, all of these power supplies go off with those switches, but constant power remains to the Raspberry Pi and the Falcon player. Also in this unit is the FM transmitter. You'll see behind here I have a small pocket transmitter. Picked this up through the year just on eBay, second hand, and it was quite cheap at the time, and we thought worth giving it a go just for our first season, and it's been absolutely brilliant. So it does everything that we want it to do and hasn't missed a beat. There's an external antenna here which runs out of the unit and simply clips to with a magnet to the underside of some guttering here, and that gives us a good range and obviously power supplies to run each. So we've got some here at 24 and 31 volts, and also a few here at 12 volts for the pixel side. All my pixels are 12 volts. I made a conscious decision to run that way for simplicity, really. So there's no confusion. There's no chance of me mixing 5 and 12 volts. Makes things very easy in the yard. Everything runs at 12 volts unless it's DC stuff. I've also color coded those, you may notice. So DC control cables are white, pixel control cables are all black. So as you can see, just out of the main controller here, there's just a bunch of cables. So as you get out into the yard and these things get mixed up and everything runs everywhere, it's just very nice to be able to, at a glance, know just what a cable is for. Security, you'll see, is also important. Everything in the show, unfortunate as it is, reality is people like to play with these things and take them for themselves. So everything is locked up, chained up. You'll notice padlock and chain all over my all over my display. It just keeps things safe. Also, all of these cabinets are locked. Really anything in the show that's accessible and has 240 volts is locked for safety. So particularly with children coming to look at the show, it's very nice and safe. Along with the Pixel and DC controllers, we also have some AC control for some of the existing elements that we've had in previous year's shows. So to control those, I have a pair of LOR 16 channel AC units running on Dmx. You'll notice again the red Dmx cables coming in and out of these units, as well as I'm sure you'll see in any display, a bucket full of messy cables. Kind of goes with the territory. So two of these units which will control AC elements, things like the sleigh and reindeer here, for example, or some rope light silhouettes that we have throughout the display. Also some interesting effects like the mirror ball that we've had as part of our show for some years. This creates quite a nice effect with, as you can see in the base of the tree there, the three LED pin spots which are run from an AC controller. And also some effect projection type lights that you'll see scattered throughout the show. Here's an example of the yard power boxes. There are several of these throughout the yard close to particular elements. Basically inside here is a power supply for power injection, a 6-way fuse board here out to 6 2-pin pigtails. We use 2-pin here for power injection just to distinguish from the 3-pin pixel connectors. Also in this unit is one of the Falcon receiver boards. So this runs from the differential output from the main controller box and gives us 4 additional pixel outputs out close to the elements in the yard, right where we need them. And again, those will come out to 3-pin pigtails. Again, all waterproof.
Oh, hold the mistletoe, I'm where you can see somebody waits for you, kiss her once for me.
One of the first elements to be built for the show were these metal stars out of Kmart. Originally they had battery operated LEDs in them, but those have been drilled out and 10 square pixel nodes inserted in their place. Quite a simple little modification, just finished off with some again 3-pin Reiwu pigtails, and just hung on the wall here with a brick clip. These have been quite effective in the show. Our chimney star is mounted high above the house. Originally a rope light star. It's been in our display for many years. This season the rope lights are gone and it's had a pixel upgrade. There's now around 170 12 volt bullet style nodes, and this is all controlled by one of the yard boxes attached to the back side of the chimney. For all of the straight lines in the display, the strip is mounted to 25mm conduit and clipped to various parts of the house, the eaves. The vertical lines are connected to the brick and also around the window surrounds. And each element in the display uses these Raywu 3-pin weatherproof connectors, protected from the elements with adhesive lined heat shrink. Where possible, we've tried to make each strip section interchangeable. So these here, for example, are 2.5 metre sections, and these are all interchangeable for the eaves, the roof line, and some of the verticals on the house. The spiral trees are simply a full 5 metre reel of strip connected to a garden trellis or tomato trainer. Again, 3-pin Raywu pigtails in and out. You may notice too any outputs that aren't being used on these pigtails are all sealed with a cap, again just to keep them weather tight, keep any bugs or dust or water out. These arches are made using 38mm LDPE tubing, 2.5 metres per arch, and inside is 2.5 metres of 30 LED per metre or 10 pixel per metre strip, the same strip that we've used on many of the elements on the house. The bases are made using 32mm electrical conduit and conduit fittings. So conduit for the legs and also a small piece inside the base of the tube here to attach to the tubing, and inspection tees again with Raywu 3-pin pigtails. A metal bar acts as a brace to hold the shape. Overall they're 1.5 metres wide and around 1 metre high, and there are 6 arches currently in the show. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, feedback or comments, feel free to leave a comment on the video. Find us on Facebook at Narry Lights, or on the Christmas Lighting forums, Oz Christmas Lighting or Falcon Christmas, David J 247. Look forward to hearing from you. Merry Christmas.